Well, we are the Fearsome Foursome. We're here with a very current topic. It is climate change. To start talking about it, I want you to talk to me about the last source we found, that it is from the Daily Wire. The title of it is CNN knows climate change is a big fat hoax. I want you to tell me your opinion about it. As you know, it is like 6 facts, according to them, that climate change is a lie. So, what do you think?
Well, first I'm going to talk about the Daily Wire. That was like the news that published the article, and it's well known to be like untrusty because it's strongly biased to a conservative point. So it uses like some strong words and some like strong terms, so people are convinced that what they're saying is real. But they're like mostly opinions. They don't talk much about real facts. So now we talk about the source.
In my opinion, like I completely disagree with this source because, well, here their first argument is that they say that the global temperature, have increased 1 degree or maybe 2, and they say that that's not bad because the people will not die because of that, and it's even easy to grow plants. So that's their argument, but we all know that that's not good. For example, in the NASA web page, when they talk about climate change and the evidence, they say for things like, for example, the sea level that will increase if the ice melts. Cities like Miami will disappear, and that's because the planet is getting warmer.
Also about that fact, I believe that it is very curious that although it tries to present it as a fact, it speaks in first person. It even says, even if it's true, which I doubt, so now the source is planting its basis on the personal opinion of the author.
Another thing we want to say is that in this source they say that climate change, if it was real, why doesn't people like in Miami, that is a city like close to like they say in the source, like to disappear, why don't people sell their houses, sell their properties, why don't they run from these places? And many people are really on the coast, like in Miami, are really scared of this situation. How can they say that if they are selling, why don't they sell their property? And why doesn't Miami has lowered its value in real estate property? If climate change is a real thing, in all the sources, real sources, not opinion sources, have said that climate change is a real thing and it is affecting the daily lives of the people.
Well, for example, I think that when they say that the proof that the climate change is not true is that the owners of CNN just invested on 7 new buildings that are like a few meters from the ocean. So if they know that it's totally true that Miami will disappear and the ocean level will increase, then why did they are investing in those buildings if they will lose them eventually? So that's their argument to say that it's not happening, but I completely disagree with that.
And mostly it is not CNN the one that got the information. Probably a scientist wouldn't buy that building, who could know? But it is not CNN who got the information, so it is not like absolutely radical in not buying a building just because it is 7 meters away from the sea level. So the source is purely biased, and I can't believe that they say things like that.
Also, well, one of the arguments is that they say that on more than one occasion, scientists have been caught lying about global temperatures, and that's what they base on, like to say that temperatures must be lying right now. That makes absolutely no sense, because why would the scientists lie about something that is really happening, that is shown in all around the world? For example, the Arctic is melting. That's not a lie. For example, they say we have only been tracking global temperature for about 140 years, or 0.0000001% of the life of Earth. So they say that how can we know like the planet natural cycles, and that's false. Like we have a lot of information about how the temperature was in the last previous years, in million years, billion years, because well, there's something called the isotopes that they have carbon and oxygen. They are frozen in the ice, so they find them and they see like previous temperatures from past years, like million years ago, so they can see like also from fossils and many other ways, so they can like see a temperature in years before even human existed.
And now I wanted to introduce like another source that is from popularscience.com. It speaks with 6 irrefutable pieces of evidence that prove that climate change is real. So I want you to tell me what would you think that the Daily Wire would react to such a source that is written by scientists and explains in mostly scientific terms why the climate change is real.
Sure, tell me what the arguments are. I mean,
For example, they say that one of the reasons of why climate change is real is the huge amounts of CO2 in the atmosphere. They say, for example, that the carbon dioxide made up 81% of the United States greenhouse gas emissions in 2014.
well, according to these sources, the scientists are always lying. They say that the planet was cooling, that the super hurricanes were like a lie, that the ozone layer was disappearing, and that's according to them, that's also a lie. So, well, they say that mostly you cannot trust the scientists, you cannot trust what they say. So it's a totally like stereotyped source.
Yes, I also think that the same as Pablo, because in the Daily Wire only is based on stereotypes and based on lies. So they will find a way to lie to the people and make them believe that those facts that the scientists are saying are completely fake.
And I wanted to say, who is the Daily Wire's primary source of information? Trump's Twitter?
Also, it is very interesting what you said, because although, for example, the source that I just mentioned are popular science, the first thing it shows in the source, it is the author and the date, while on the Daily Wire it does not show any name that can be claimed of saying that.
Yes, and also if we aren't allowed to trust the scientists that are the professionals of the world, and what it means that in economy issues we don't trust economists, in administrative issues we don't trust administrative people, professionals. Yeah, I think it's really dumb, the article and what they say about scientists, because if we are not allowed to trust the professionals on the topic, do we have to trust a source that doesn't even have an author and that is really talking about fake news?
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Mr. Ramirez when he said that this is not a trusty source. And the first thing that the article started with CNN, which is now, and for good reason, officially the least trusted name in cable news. That is like really hypocritical, because well, they use facts, they use scientists, they use like real data that's happening right now. And what does this use? Like they just attack and doesn't have any proof.
Yes, like they are only saying personal opinions. They doesn't like. I think that they don't have the information enough to write those things. Like they're only putting their personal opinions, and they should like look for more information. For example, when they say that the temperature is increasing, they are not taking in account like the natural disasters that are coming, and we can see them already in the United States, all the hurricanes that are happening. Like they think that even it's only important that if the planet is warmer, the people will not get cold and die for that.
And besides about the source indeed, it provides a Twitter account at the end that could be treated as the source. And when you made the little research, you can find out that the username of the account is CNN is Hitler. So what kind of trust can you have on a person whose Twitter is CNN is Hitler. You cannot compare at all a very recognized source that in lots of polls has been the most famous and trusted of the world. How can you say that?
It's like, I don't know, it's like a donkey talking out ears, because, well, he's saying that they're not trusty, and they say that Hitler, they're comparing Hitler with CNN. It's like, it makes no sense at all.
And for example, when you go and search for the other source that I mentioned, whose author is Erin Blakemore, her Twitter is just an account made to talk about the things that she makes, and it is a very personal Twitter, but she does not present a bias even on her Twitter, which is often her personal source.
Well, and also she says, for example, she says things like, I'll show you. She leaks like a lot of questions without answers. So that proves that like she doesn't really have the answers. She just shows her personal opinion from the first point of view. For example, she says, I'll be quick. I explain you how to not get like blinded because of CNN. That's totally a position. That's totally like it shouldn't be trusted, because every person thinks different from the other. So what she has to think doesn't mean that we have to believe it, unless she has proof, which she doesn't.
Yes, I think like all of those arguments are based on hate against CNN. Like they are only trying to talk bad about CNN and not to prove that climate change doesn't exist. Like almost all over the webpage they are talking about why CNN is not a good source.
And now talking about the Daily Wire specifically, we can see that most of their news are made of clickbait. If you don't know what clickbait is often like the title of a news that it is made in such a way that the person has to check it. For example, here in Colombia, that someone put, look what happened to James Rodriguez, and they don't really talk what happened in the title. But something that wouldn't be the clickbait in the same topic would be James Rodriguez se lesiona, for example, and that is like often seen as one of the main elements that a fake news possesses, that it just tries to gain clicks and try to gain visits.
Yeah, so also they had been accused of doing fake news before, so I think like if they did it before, why would they do it again? I think that it's possible that they are doing it.
And also it is a fact that many polls throughout the years, throughout the history, when the climate grows to a big temperature, the poles start defreezing, and we can see nowadays that is happening. And that's why the polar bears are over extinction, and many creatures and animals from that part of the world are too.
And now I wanted to make a little exercise before we finish, and it is that we check the items of a fake news, and we try to see how much of them are in the Daily Wire. So I will ask you if the item is present, and you will tell me. For example, is the author credible? Is he unbiased? Is he theoretical?
No, we don't know who's the author. They didn't.
Another that it is very big is that who does he have supporting sources?
No, like they only say personal opinions.
Things like I'll be quick. I think.
For example, does it has any BAs?
If you search really big on the news, you will see that there is a little name of the author, that is John Nolt, but all his articles are about CNN, and it lacks of good information. As you can see here, one of his articles was unrelatable sources, CNN cut line about Fox News, and he talks about fake news like if he wasn't doing any of it. So
yeah, it is very incredible, and I think we're done, right? Thank you for seeing the Fearsome Foursome. We'll be back with another video.
Until next time.